I love lavender. I want to say that up front. I've grown it for years. I know the smell, what it looks like in full bloom, what it does to the bees and butterflies in my yard every summer. Lavender is a classic for a reason. But, and this is an honest but, lavender isn't the right plant for everyone. And I'm not talking about soil requirements or sun exposure. I'm talking about one specific trait that quietly ruins the relationship over time. Lavender is evergreen. It doesn't die back for winter. And that sounds like a selling point right up until you see what happens after a few seasons. The woody stems stay. They keep growing, season after season. If you're not pruning it hard, tight, and at exactly the right time, lavender gets scraggly, uneven, and loses the exact look you planted it for in the first place. But there's a whole different category of plants that gives you that same visual payoff. Purple, silvery, airy, a magnet for pollinators, without that problem. Perennials that die all the way back every fall and come roaring back fresh every spring. Dense, beautiful from day one. No leftover stems from last season, no woody debris, no meticulous pruning schedule required. Today, I'm showing you 8 of them. Let's get into it. Plant 1. Catmint. I'll start with the plant a lot of gardeners quietly treat as the lesser option. Less elegant, less refined, less worth the attention than lavender. That's a mistake. Catmint is basically lavender's better behaved twin. Same soft purple haze, same rolling waves of color, same magnet effect on pollinators. And on top of that, it dies back completely for winter and comes back from the ground fresh every spring. No old stems, no woody stubs. New season, new plant. When it starts looking tired midsummer, cut it straight to the ground. A few weeks later, it comes back with a whole new wave of blooms. Try the Chelsea chop, cutting it back by half in late spring. You'll get later blooms, but fuller and longer-lasting ones. One move that changes the entire season. It likes sun, tolerates partial shade, and handles dry soil fine once established. Use it to fill a border, line a path, soften a stone wall. It reads natural and effortless anywhere you put it. Comment below. Do you already grow catmint and have you tried the Chelsea chop? Plant 2. Woodland sage. Sage is the plant that makes a yard smell like summer and keeps the pollinators from leaving your neighbors alone. Tall spikes of purple, pink, or white flowers. Fresh aromatic foliage. Long bloom time. And after the first flush fades, cut it back and a second wave shows up right behind it. One plant, 2 full rounds of bloom in a single year. Compared to lavender, it's more structural and upright. A sharper vertical accent in a bed. And it dies back for winter. So spring brings clean new growth with zero leftover clutter. One thing to watch for at the nursery, perennial sage isn't the same as annual sage. Make sure you're buying the perennial variety. Only that one comes back year after year. It likes sun and soil that isn't too heavy or too wet. Once established, it handles drought without complaint, a serious advantage during a brutal summer. Plant 3. Russian sage. Russian sage is a plant you're seeing more and more in modern, naturalistic gardens. And it's not hard to see why. It has everything lavender has. Silvery tones, purple color, that light, airy habit. But it's wilder, roomier, it's slender. Silvery stems sway in the wind like ornamental grass, giving a bed movement lavender just doesn't offer. And here's the trait that makes it a serious upgrade over lavender. It dies back for winter. Spring, it starts from zero. No woody old growth. No unruly buildup year after year. Important rule. Russian sage looks and performs best planted in larger groups. A single plant gets lost in a bed. Several together create a haze of purple that actually stops people walking by. It likes poor soil. Rich, moist ground makes it grow too lush and floppy. With this plant, neglect is a feature, not a bug. Plant 4. Speedwell Veronica. Veronica is the plant I recommend every time someone wants something compact, upright, and completely reliable. Tight, straight spikes of flowers in blue, purple, pink, and white. The white variety in particular is something else. It lights up a bed in a way no other color quite matches. It's remarkably tough. Handles heat, tolerates dry soil, practically never gets sick. Bloom time runs short, a few weeks to a couple months. But there's one trick that extends it. Cut the spent flower spikes off right at the base. The plant pushes out a second round, and spring brings clean new growth from the ground again. Nothing left over from last year. Plant 5. Scabiosa. Now here's a plant that makes a garden look natural and effortless like almost nothing else can. Scabiosa sends up delicate, violet blue flowers on thin, long stems. They look like butterflies hovering just above the bed. That sense of lightness, movement, and ease is genuinely hard to get from anything else. It blooms all season long under one condition: you have to deadhead it regularly. Skip that, and bloom production slows noticeably. Stay on top of it, and Scabiosa keeps pushing out new flowers nonstop. All summer long, it mixes beautifully with other plants. Doesn't dominate, doesn't crowd anything out, just softens and rounds out whatever's around it. Works in cottage gardens, naturalistic beds, and modern landscaping alike. Full sun, well-draining soil. It looks delicate. It isn't. Comment below. Did you already know Scabiosa by that name, or only as pincushion flower? I read every comment. Plant 6. Globe thistle. Globe thistle doesn't make much of an impression in spring. Honestly, when it first comes up out of the ground, you look at it and think, okay, it's growing, I guess. Then late summer hits, and suddenly, tall stems are topped with perfectly round, steel blue flower heads that look like they belong on a different planet. Spiky, sculptural, a little alien, and completely magnetic to bees and butterflies. Even after the flowers fade, that shape stays put. Decorative through fall, sometimes into winter. It's about as tough as it gets. It blooms in poor, dry soil, the kind of ground that would make lavender give up entirely. It hates overfeeding and excess water. Give it the hardest, driest spot in your yard, and watch what it does with it. Plant 7, oregano. Here's the one you didn't see coming. Oregano. Yes, the exact same plant sitting in your spice rack. But let it flower out in the garden, and it's a completely different plant than the pizza topping herb you know. It sends up delicate, pinkish-purple flower clusters that spill over the edges of beds and pots. The smell is intense, herbal, Mediterranean, unmistakable. And unlike rosemary and thyme, it doesn't go woody. Every fall, it dies back completely, and every spring it comes back fresh, holding its shape. Here's the part almost nobody expects. Even once it's flowering, the leaves are still edible. They don't turn bitter the way basil's does once it blooms. Decoration and herb in one plant all season long. It likes sun, well-draining soil, and minimal attention. Plant it once, and it comes back every year without any real help from you. Plant 8, dianthus. And to close things out, the plant with the loosest connection to lavender on this list, but one too good to skip. Dianthus has that same needle-thin, silvery foliage lavender is known for, so even without flowers, it reads as decorative in the bed. Flowers show up in summer and bloom for a long stretch if you deadhead regularly. Lacy, ruffled blooms in everything from pure white through every shade of pink to deep crimson. And it has the one thing lavender doesn't: it dies back for winter. Spring brings it back dense, tight, and completely fresh. Nothing carried over from the season before. After the main flush of blooms, trim it back lightly at the base. That pushes new growth and stretches out how long it stays decorative. Works great in containers and straight in the ground. Full sun, well-draining soil, 8 plants. Every one of them gives you some, or a lot, of what we all love about lavender. Purple, silver, that light airy texture, the pollinators, the fragrance. But every single one is simpler to maintain because they all share one thing lavender doesn't have. They die back completely for winter and come back fresh out of the ground every single spring. No woody stems. No painstaking pruning schedule. No risk that 2 seasons from now you're standing in front of a shrub that looks worse than the day you bought it. Lavender is beautiful. But a garden doesn't have to be built entirely out of the classics. Sometimes it's worth looking sideways and finding what else gives you the same effect, without half the problems. Tell me in the comments which of these 8 surprised you the most, and whether you're already growing one of them as a lavender alternative. Your answers directly decide what I film next. See you in the next one.